Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's MacabreDerek here with the aftermath of Vampire the Requiem Condensation. And joining me is Torna. Now, this game is kind of my gift to Torna because he has just hit of age where the real heavy stuff can end up tearing apart his soul. So that was my gift to him. Torna, congratulations. Here's your gift, a shattered soul. How are you feeling?
Oh, my heart is just fucking wrecked. I like, I pour out Megan, man. I just, I, I,
Had to end up seeing that in her brother, right? Like she saw her brother as a monster, right?
yeah, and her brother has been nothing but like it was always that way. That her brother was that support, like he told her go and hide, and always, always never losing his composure around Megan. And then when she finally saw him for what he was, I just broke down, man. I was like, no, not Megan. I didn't give a fuck about Michael. Fuck him, dick. You know what I mean? But Megan, man,
Well,
I
it
was
was
like,
your close mate for several years, wasn't he?
yeah, little bastard.
Yeah.
But and Clive, man, fuck. No, I was just fuck. That's how I feel. Fuck. It was great, but oh,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Now I know a lot of people who ended up watching it to its conclusion would ask, well, isn't this a masquerade breach? All of this kind of stuff? Not the point.
mm. Oh yeah,
As a character, the worst has already happened. Anything that happens to him afterwards is just putting him out of his misery.
yeah. I think Charlie would just want to be dead by this point. I don't think he really cares because he's just ruined Megan's life. And his ultimate goal was to give her a life that he wanted, and he's left her now in that state where she'll see Charlie as a monster and then wake up screaming probably every night. And he cannot live with that. He probably killed himself. That's being honest with it. It's he'll walk out into the sun for that.
Yeah. It's a harsh thing. And I think that not only does that show like one of the issues when you're trying to maintain humanity, right? You're not only just maintaining your humanity help with keeping the masquerade, but it's one thing to play vampire when you have no real connections and like I'm a vampire and fuck the kind, they're food, that's all they are to you, right? It's quite another when they're still a part of your life, especially in those first nights of embrace. I think we're gonna. Oh nope, Torna's back.
Oh, I just I don't know what to say, man. I just feel oh, just yeah. It's, just it's like that connection. I think just makes it more real. Like that you've just lost everything, and that was the final part of it. Is that true? You're not human anymore. You're not anymore after just seeing that, and it's like that's the whole point. I think of what people miss about Vampire from Masquerade to Requiem. You know.
Yeah, well, it's difficult because it can be given as a weakness, but it can also be very much a point of strength. You know,
Mm.
um, if it's not your enemy's strength, you know, you had very much points in your life that were taken over by Simpson. Simpson had these points starting to build up, like Cressy being a blood doll to him, and like you got to get her back. How do you get her back, right? Well, what about your family? What about Megan? What about your brother? Right, your brother in St. Michael. St. Michael may be a son of a bitch, but you run with him a long time. Maybe you might have tried to save him. You might have tried to get him on your side. You might have tried to do a whole bunch of other things. But
Mm.
Charlie, at his core, is the spitting image of his mother.
Yep.
He may
Yep.
not see it that way, but that's exactly
Mm.
what he
No, no,
is.
that's the way I designed it. That he is at the end of the day is not the same. It's like what Clive said. He lied to him. That's what Charlie does. He lies to himself every day.
Yeah. And that's the hard part, right? Is that you can try and end up building these characters that, are rough around the edges and what have you, but you got to end up asking, do they have a moral center?
Mm.
Because if you're losing humanity right out of the gate in your first few weeks of embrace, you're on a long or a quick spiral down to
Yeah,
just losing yourself to the beast.
yeah,
And if you can do that in front of those you supposedly love,
yeah. Oh yeah. No, no. No, that was. What can you say? Really, it's heartbreaking. It is. It's like there's a guy who's been running from the thing he's wanted to be, and at the end he gave in, trying to save that one person he really has always valued in his life, and in the end, he broke her at the end of it all, and it's soul crushing and that's the reality of World of Darkness. Though there is no happy endings, and that's a perfect example of what this game is, and it's very well played and well crafted. But at the same time, when you come back after, you're just like, "What have I done?" You know what I mean? It's like,
and that's
oh,
sometimes what you got to remember, right? Is you're playing a monster.
mm,
And if you lose sight of the fact that that's what you are, right? And that's not an excuse to act monstrous, but you
no,
are in core a monster. There's only, especially if you're so new, there's only a few things that you can do. And it becomes difficult. It becomes very difficult to end up playing up through these situations when you're playing in the dark, when you're playing and you feel like you're alone, unable to trust, or maybe you trust too quickly. You never know what's the right situation to the right
mm,
answer. But that keeping you guessing is kind of at the core of most great games of any kind of RPGs. The fact that you don't know, you're not trying to make the perfect decision, you're not trying to Mary Sue it,
mm,
you're doing the best you can within what the character does. And if it's a
yeah.
character that is as flawed as Charlie, well, it comes around.
Oh yeah. Charlie's no angel. I know he's not. I made him, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna end fucking badly." I knew it. Yeah, it's like,
Uh,
but I think it's fascinating to play that character that is trying to be better, but at the end of the day, he's no better than Saint Michael. At the end of the day, Saint Michael said it. I know what you are. You may live your little lie, but you're just as bad as me. You just don't like to admit it. And then I think it was a different experience playing that character. It was definitely a different experience because I played a good person and I've played a bad person but I've never played a person living in denial before, and that was that was a fascinating experience to play. You know,
so, what do you figure the game it ranks? Don't try and over embellish it. What do you figure?
I would
Out of 10,
say
what would you put this at?
8 out of 10, hands down, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was fucking incredible. It was such a different story. Because I think the only down part of me is the combat. It was just like, oh, this is fucking infuriating, because I'm so used to
Yeah.
V20. I'm
Yeah.
so used to V20, and
I,
it's very hard to jump
I've
in.
I got so used to V20, and
Mm,
I haven't come back to Requiem in so long that even after I brushed up on the combat rules
mm.
before we ended up coming to this, they weren't clicking. Like I was just, oh, I know how to do this in Masquerade.
Yeah, it's like that's what I mean. It's like a raw soak now, right? It's like
Yeah, like
fucking
wait,
when it.
no.
Mm.
No,
I
there's
think that
like
was
whole different things.
if you would rank storytelling, I would give it a fucking 10 out of 10 because the storytelling fucking amazing. The story and the way that the clans were like Nosferatu. I love now Nosferatu and Requiem. I want to play Nos again because that was
Yeah.
incredible. It was
So
like,
what
oh,
did you think
that's
of that particular bit when you were trying to guess what clan you were? Because when I
mm,
ended up first giving to you, even though you didn't use it, the only clue you had was that you had the access to obfuscate.
I was like, okay, I'm maybe a Maquette because I know Maquette had obfuscate. And then you went, and then you're like, fucking Rachel and Nosferatu and went, oh. you know?
Yeah, and I think we actually have that on it, like if you end up going back to that part, you can actually freeze frame that. So that might actually be like the second version of the internal meme that I'm going to end up sharing with you guys right here.
Oh, the internal meme, the greatest meme
Yep,
ever,
yep,
man.
yep. Right there, right there.
Yeah, if you can get a picture of me doing that face, you can, because like, or you can get the picture of me at the end because you could just see me doing this, and you could just see my soul breaking. There's definitely there's I was Alex that time in this game, and my soul just got fucking fucking shattered. But no, that was definitely hands down. This was definitely my second favorite game. Like that, the one we did with Alex definitely was my first, but this hands down was my second favorite. Oh my god, I loved this. I just love the idea of it, and
So what separates this from what you've experienced in other games? Because you said like, okay, so I'm batting 2 for 2. So
two for two, yeah.
what's the core things? Because anybody else who's watching this, they might want to try what I'm doing here, or what is it that I'm doing here that works and what doesn't.
It was
Because
the immersion. It was the immersion. I mean, I felt like Charlie in that scene, in those scenes. I felt like Charlie O'Malley. The way I was Charlie O'Malley, and the way like Chrissy talked to me, the way fucking Megan, fucking Saint Michael, fucking Clive. I mean, Clive and Charlie were just buddy buddy. But then there was this like moment where like, I'm gonna hate you in a while. I just know I'm gonna hate you. That face that just makes me want to hate you. But we're friends for now. And just Rachel, the way she was, like, that was fascinating. It was that immersion. I just felt like, oh, this is fucking amazing. And then
go ahead.
And then it was like what you described and the way it was, and just storytelling. I've very few kind of it's kind of a lost art is just description and just the way you talk and the way the characters act and the way it is. It was just like, this is something that you feel a part of. You don't have to go into out of character and think for a second. You think like the character would. You just inborn straight away, like that character would. And some games don't bring that because and that's the thing. It's one-on-one, and sometimes that can get lost. You're doing 6 people, so you're kind of concentrating on balancing out everybody. But when it's one-on-one, you have that time to focus in and really get in the meat of that character. And it's like, jeez, it's the difference. You know what I mean? Definitely. It's like, oh, whew.
Yeah. So here's the thing. What were you doing specifically to try and end up making it a little bit more? Because the way people approach games is different based on a game basis. And like you said, you're heavily immersed in this. Now, I can't take that credit. I can give you the tools, but at the end of the day, you're the one putting yourself in that mindset, right?
I just kept thinking, what would he do in this situation? This is what would a man like Charlie O'Malley would do. And I just did particular tics and habits and leans in, and I just felt that ability to do that. And I was like, I just need to think like this character. I just was looking at the character itself, and I was like, okay, I need to show this. This guy would not be calm, cool, and collected. This guy would not be this. And I stick to the character's own morality. And I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, a lot of people end up playing around morality, like that's what you need to act like, as opposed to trying to figure out what that character is inherently like and just laying the morality fall where it's going to be. Because sometimes you got a character who might be 90% moral, but it's that 10% that puts them at like a Humanity 3 type situation. And guess what? He's Humanity 3, even though he acts like it 90% of the time is Humanity 7. There's that one point where it's like, well, we got to torture you to get information. Well, it sucks, but it is for the greater good, so let me go and grab the jumper cables.
It's like, yeah, that's what I mean. I stuck to the principles that Charlie O'Malley would have laid down for him. Whether that be,
I love it how you keep tempted to call him Murphy. Was that the original name?
That was Charlie Murphy originally, but then I got the Rick James thing in my head. You know, the Charlie Murphy, and I was like, I can't do that without smiling. So I was like, Charlie O'Malley, Charlie O'Malley. He
Ah,
hates Charlie
okay.
O'Malley. You know.
So there's a few times you end up slipping in there, and I understand that,
Yeah.
especially when it's a new character.
Mm.
Um, so, okay, well, you talked about the praises. Now I need you to fucking tear me down before I get a fat head about this. Like,
It's the combat was just the thing for me, and like not really much else. It was just the combat. Just was kind of like, for fuck's sake. But that was my own more frustration. Like, come on, you know what I mean? This is so much easier in fucking V20.
where you can basically alpha strike and turf somebody on the first round.
But that's the thing.
Go Clan Bruja.
That's the challenge. That's the thing. That was just me. That's my own dislike for Requiem. In that way, the combat is great. Fuck, you know what I mean? But as a storytelling, I didn't really see much wrong with that. Like, the descriptions didn't go on too long. You kept it immersive. The conversation flowed amazing. That was incredible. The conversations was
except for that one part where Clive was chatting to you because you ended up disconnecting mid-session. I'm like, okay, I got to keep this going. And then kind of recap quick, and but that's because we were doing it live.
Do it live, but
do it live.
But that was the thing. No, I think it was just my dislike for the Requiem combat system was the only kind of downer for me. Otherwise than that, I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, you could even see it. I was really excited after seeing going, oh, let's do
it. Well, I love the fact that it's like part one, or even before part one, it's like, man, I can't wait to end up getting involved in this. Part two, all of a sudden, it ends up turning into, oh man, I can't wait. Then it goes to part three, nervous. Oh God, what's gonna end up happening? Oh, how is this going to play out? And then all of a sudden, by the end, it's like, yeah, we just ended it. And rather than that same excitement, it just went, like it was, we're going up, and crashed.
I just, my soul, man. Like when you just went, oh no, and I just realized Megan's after seeing me like this. Oh no. And then you turned and went, but she sees you. And I went, oh, Megan. You can actually see my face is going. Or like I broke, man. I was like I could feel it. I was like, I felt for Megan and I felt for Charlie and Chrissy and all these characters. And I went, oh, Charlie, no, it was like you had that chance and you just proved that you're that same person as your mother. You're the same. And I went, oh man, my heart just shattered because it was like, it was. I'm a masochist for that shit, so I loved it. But like,
that's why you end up coming back to me, right? I got the good shit.
I got the juju,
got the juju. But that's part of it, right? And part of storytelling more than anything, right, is crafting an experience, right? There's a lot of the hard part about storytelling like this is that you got to keep 101 logistics in your head and ask, okay, this makes sense, but how does it make sense? Or how do I allude to this? Or how do I hint at this? Or how do I build this up? How do I foreshadow this? Especially if you don't know where the story is going, because I had no idea that this would end up in a fucking hospital, right? Until like I realized, oh, right, because guess who put your mother in the hospital? Of course he knows where the fuck she is, right? It's like, okay, goes in there, finds out your sister's there because, they're always going to notify head next to kin, and what 12-year-old plus doesn't have their own cell phone in this day and age? It's gonna happen.
No, made perfect sense to me. What I should have done is just yank the knife out and fucking stab the shit out of him. But no, Megan would have seen that. Basically, Charlie was like, oh fuck, I was like, Charlie's gonna do it, and it's like at the end of the day, people would try metagame it and people would try. I didn't do that. I just went, Charlie would do this. He would give himself over to that beast in order to save Megan. But at the end of the day, he never realized that he was damning himself doing that. And that's the tragedy of him.
And that's often what happens, but a lot of people are afraid to play that. The other thing that happens a little too frequently that doesn't get to be played out near as much is like Charlie was an impulse embrace, right? It was a character who, fairly young, all things considered. Rachel is extremely young as a Nosferatu, and couldn't. She ended up in impulse here, embracing you. I'm not going to end up going into details as to why and all the background stuff. We'll end up doing that in another video if somebody's interested, and I'll go through those details. But because you were an impulse embrace as opposed to a studied and carefully crafted one and one who could maintain the masquerade, this is what happens. This is actually probably one, even though Requiem doesn't really have the traditions in the same sense as Masquerade. This is a very good example of why it is that Masquerade is played the way it is, because we had one potential Masquerade breach that could be covered up, and then the second one, well, this shit is happening in a hospital filled with cameras that you have no control over. There's a whole bunch of other shit, like these kind of things are not voting well for Charlie. And like you said, that's not really the point. That like the second that he gave in, it did not matter what the hell ended up happening to Mike. Pardon. It did not matter what happened to Michael. It didn't matter what happened to Charlie at that point. This was his make or break. And once we got to that point, it seemed like anything else after that would just be dragging it on just to kind of reduce the impact.
To be honest, he probably just would have ran out of there and waited till the sun came up and just died. That he wouldn't have, just gone and would have killed himself. And at the end of the day, it turned from Charlie's story to Megan in that last moment.
Yeah. Well, there's the story of little kid and what they encountered. What would happen to that child? Who would they encounter afterwards? And that may be another story to tell at another point in time. Who knows? Maybe, just maybe, having a monster for a brother has some benefit. Thank you very much for playing, Torna. I appreciated it.
No problem.
Now, if you enjoyed Vampire the Requiem, Condensation, the Aftermath videos, or anything like, feel free to give them the thumbs up. If you like to end up hearing a rant on a particular comment, leave or on a particular rant. Let's try that again. If you'd like to end up having me rant on a particular topic, feel free to leave a comment. And, well, if you want to end up following more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. I got a few videos in the back catalog that might be of interest to you. So until next time, enjoy your evenings.